Sup Shredders, my name is Logan aka Spiderhands and welcome to an SP Reviews where today we got ourselves a track from an act named Electric Callboy titled Elevator Operator. And if we switch over to here, I should note that I have listened to this song before. I do quite like it. I'm quite fond of some of Electric Callboy's music. I like the mixture of the metal and their kind of electro techno kind of stuff. But it's good to be able to do a video about it and review it and listen through it from start till finish. Gonna hear what we think. Let's do it, let's go. I mean, it's straight to the point, isn't it?
You heard about a man and down, we're moving on, we're going up and down, we're moving on.
Great mixture of trap and metal elements. Great use of side chaining on those kicks. And like hot and cold between the clean vocal cry part too, very good as well. Great dynamic range. I mean, just the power of those vocals and that part, the way they pan. Stunning. Just a really great time. I wasn't aware that they went in space though. I think I missed the part of their video. To be fair, I think I mostly listened through the track, exclusive of the music video. But yeah, I like the audio-visual experience. It's very stimulating. We're gonna talk about this track more in the conclusion. Because welcome to the conclusion of my review of this track from an act named Electric Callboy titled Elevator Operator. In this section I'm going to provide an overall song analysis for everything from vocals and lyrics all the way through to studio production, as well as any applicable constructive critique. And then finally my general thoughts from a listener's perspective. But first of all, what do we think this track is about? I think it's effectively about both of these young men trying to be the one calling all the shots in the elevator. These fancy elements that the elevator operator has, you know, showing them all these different options and ways they can go. Eventually getting them to a point where they get so high off of it and so overwhelmed that they are basically sent up into space. Going down into the depths for the breakdown as heavy as it is and floating in the ether. It's fantastic. It's a really interesting story actually. It's kind of makes me think, hey, you know, like you look up to these people but you don't really know what's involved until you take a step in their shoes and they get a feel for it at the end. I like the kind of laissez-faire approach of the elevator operator himself, as well as the acting in general from the people. It's a very cool video. It's a lot of fun. They don't take themselves too seriously. They're just great, you know, humans to put in a creative environment like this. They made the most of it. I've also seen the live performance as well, where all three vocalists or people kind of in the story come on stage and have their time as well. It's really neat. So I'm glad that they continued the lore with that. Vocally, I thought there was a great mixture of clean sung vocals there, angelic, very comfortable in the head and chest voice. There's a poppiness to them that is exuberant and very pleasant to listen to. I like the compression, EQing, and reverbs on those tails there. I think the use of synthetic elevator operator, you know, in those chorus parts is nice too. It's nice to have a bit of tuning and modulation on those to kind of niche a bit more cohesively with some of the electronic layers. I think as well, the vocal fry, the growls and everything like that we have, it's just a nice A-B in those verse sections. You know, to have the sung parts and the call and response and the sort of back and forth between them. There's just an innate chemistry that's put forward there, and I think we're working to each of the individual vocalists' strengths. I think in that breakdown section it made more sense to kind of keep things nice and heavy with those guitar, bass, drums, etc. And I do also think structurally this track is fascinating, but I just wanted to mention that the vocals were done very well here. We had a wide range of different ways of attempting to communicate with the listener, and I feel like they're all done rather elegantly. If there was anything aggressive, it was more for like the push and power and excitement as opposed to trying to sort of be too aggressive about it, you know? The structure of the track, as mentioned, I think was intriguing. You have that start where it's got that sort of synth sequencer theme there, and it's kind of got an interesting chromatic kind of feel to it, where it's sort of maybe I don't know what scale that is. I think it's based off of the Phrygian, but it also might be including some other chromatics. But anyways, it's just a very interesting melody off the bat. It's kind of whimsical, and I think it kind of matches the mood of the two of them outside the club, figuring out if they want to take the elevator, you know? And just having the claps there, it's just such a minimalist layer, and when the whole entire band comes in afterwards, like 12, 13 seconds in, it's such a kick in the teeth. It really does push things quite heavily. You get the full force of the band there, and you're like, whoa, what's happening? And you get overwhelmed, and it's just an effective, I suppose, kind of jump scarish kind of transfer there. But then we come away from the chugged power chords there, the mixture of single and double kicks on the drum kit there with the cymbals and snares coming in, and you have that kind of bridge-ish kind of build there, and where you have those kind of trancey EDM-ish kind of pads there and sequences, and you build up with the riser there, and the vocals soar up along with that before coming down to that chorus section, that drop there. It's very quick. We don't stay on things for too long, and there's a lot of alternate percussion in that build as well there, and it's filtered to not be too heavy and to establish a clear difference in intensity with the previous verse section. There's dun 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 dun. There's these kind of fun portamento synths there that are kind of dirty sounding, and they dance around in that chorus and amongst the screams and growls. Just that big and then that big scream he does is just such a nice legato passage over all of the other staccato quick sort of 16th elements rhythmically. It's very cool. In fact, having two different drum kits or sort of drum samplers in that 25-second mark of the verse there's just so many different rhythmical percussive layers. It's so lush. It's so lush, but at the same time, it's so neatly compressed and mastered that it doesn't sound like it's not glued during that transfer. It's like the intensity is just a lack of a low end, I suppose, as opposed to having a sudden quietness to it. It is relatively consistent, but it's been handled well with enough dynamic range. It's even the little things like that crash before the second verse just kind of fizzling out over the point of that little kind of break from the heaviness of the lower end as well. We really do go low, high, and there's some kind of cheesy but like fun sounding rapped sort of singing parts and other parts as well there, which have a nice sort of rhythmic flow alongside the chord note kicks that permeate this track for the most part. I think though, you know, it's all about the groove with this one. The guitars aren't too colorful. You primarily got them playing 8th quarter and 16th note power chordal riffs there. The synthesizers are where a lot of the energy is in the mid-range, and even though things are relatively low key as they exit the elevator around that 1:48 mark, you have this 808 kind of like electronic kind of kick groove there that pushes you forward almost like you're at a rave, which makes total sense considering where they're at in the video. But it's kind of like a different kind of interpretation of the original synth lead that you had at the start. You go back to that once you get to that breakdown after the cute little kind of elevator motif there, which is just great sense of humor on that part. But there's just such a lush tone to even that little ravish part there. There's adjustments of filtering of those sort of like padded synths and sequences there. It's intoxicating, and it's such a different sort of aesthetic from when we had those guitar layers there that it feels like a completely different song. But because of a similarity between some of the motifs and key signatures and stuff like that, it doesn't seem too separate. And I'm actually listening back to it, and I really do like that single string melodic lick on the guitar with the hammer-ons and pull-offs there around the 2:13 mark. It's just a nice sort of like adjustment and an addition to it. I think that if you can find space and amongst a theme to add more instruments without oversaturating it, you absolutely should. It's just a natural kind of build again to what goes on in that drop section, that breakdown, where it goes halftime and it just chugs, and the production quality is so tight. There's just such a fantastic tone to the individual instruments, but just because of how rhythmically tight the performance is, the drums, guitar, bass sort of in sync with each other, the vocals rhythmically in unison with it as well, you really do just appreciate just dun dun da da dun da 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 dun. It's addicting. And of course you have another sort of bridge section, a build there with similar components to what we had previously, and then the chorus comes in, and that's catchy as hell as well with a similar sort of feel to it. We're not trying to alienate the audience, but at the last part there, it kind of half times some of the existing ideas were put forward there as a slowdown to kind of lead you off until the end of the track when they pop into space. And you're left in a position there really feeling like you've had a succulent meal. It doesn't leave anything, like it's an overwhelming exotic experience that I think is kind of a really positive direction for metal to be going. I'm not ignorant of the fact that there have been electronic elements in metal for 30 years now, or if not more, but it's just really cool to hear it being done and they just continuing to try different things. Ultimately, I think it's just great to see them having fun. It's an interesting, unique concept for a song. I haven't heard this kind of story before. Thematically minor oriented, but I think it's more trying to sound like kind of nightlife, exciting, going on an adventure, shit up, etc. That's the kind of groove I get from this. It works well within the minors and Phrygians with some sort of fun, sort of like, I mean, little piano escalator motif was very kind of extended, but it doesn't try to overcomplicate the harmonies too much. There's lots of little ideas performing individual functions that kind of skitter and scatter back and forth, but it's easy to sort of figure out where's what. It doesn't overstay its welcome though. Honestly, like studio production, recording, mixing and mastering, you know, the vocals, guitar, bass, drum, synths, everything else, the bits of Foley like the elevator sounds, etc. are great. You know, I just like how you can feel, you can hear everything clearly. Things are positioned well within the stereo field. The vocal parts go backwards and forwards, nice panning and sort of adjustments there of interpretation. No weird resonant frequencies in the frequency spectrum. There is filtering to, like, in some of those sort of like ravey parts there to kind of maybe make things a little more low key and slowly add more high end there just to kind of open it up a little bit. But and there's use of rises and other effects elements and stuff like that, and reverb and delay tails and all that kind of stuff, as well as some interesting samples and other bits of Foley and air candy. But ultimately it doesn't seem overdone. It's nice and tightly glued, compressed. There's definitely side chaining, but it's not too choked. Bus compression limiting is handled nice and loud. Bit of pumping, but it's good. Good for this kind of music. No applicable constructive critique, ultimately just a really positive experience with it. I wasn't going into it feeling a need to critique it, but I just wanted to sort of more put my thoughts together on it. With a band like this, with subject matter like this, you kind of feel like it's so open-ended that they could do anything they want to after this. I know they've collaborated with bands like Baby Metal and stuff like that. It's a very exciting time for Electric Callboy. I wish them all the best of luck in future, but thank you very much for watching my review of this track from Electric Callboy titled Elevator Operator, and hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please go show them some love via their various social medias and the YouTube page, and stay cool and stay safe, and please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as you need to help more than ever with all the crazy stuff going on in the world, and I will catch you in the next SB reviews. Spiderhands out.